Just wanted to give you guys a heads up at the beginning. There will be spoilers discussed for Avengers Infinity War, so you've been warned. What's up, guys? This is Courtney, one half of the Brothers of Deconstruction here, and this is going to be the first episode of hopefully a long running podcast for the channel just to provide more content and discussions for it. And hell, I might even just move my reviews over to this type of format. But yeah, today is just going to be a discussion on Infinity War. But going forward, I hopefully it'll be more a debate uh, type of podcast, just from watching a bunch of other channels and Screen Junkies movie fights and the Schmoes Know movie trivia and things like that. It's not going to be game show oriented, but just a debate about film, different types of film. So today, me and my very good friend Myron are going to be talking about Avengers Infinity War. Myron, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, it's Myron here. Yeah, big comic book fan, long friend of Chuck here. Yeah, just came to discuss possibly one of the best MCU movies of all time.
Man, and this because it's the first one, it's probably gonna be, as far as direction is concerned, kind of all over the place. But we're gonna talk about our thoughts, our general thoughts on the movie. You know what it might mean for the future, and probably everything in between. Probably a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Everybody else's reactions to it. So that's gonna be the gist of this podcast. So jumping right into it, this is probably hands down my favorite MCU movie. And like, just even saying that, and I don't want to be hyperbolic, because the movie just came out. I don't want to seem like I'm overstepping, but
How many times have you seen it?
I've seen it twice. I saw it Friday morning, and then I saw it again Sunday. I saw it yesterday. And I was trying to go see it again last night, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna chill. And plus, I think AMC is bringing like $5 Tuesdays back permanently or something like that. So I'm gonna see if the AMC that I go to has that running. I don't know if it's for like the Stubbs members or not, but we gonna see about that.
Okay.
Yeah, but the movie, even though it just came out, like, this movie is great. Like, I have my review uploading to YouTube right now, and like, even there, I say it's great. I just There was so much to process in this movie, man.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Oh yeah.
But it truly, I think the funniest thing coming out of this is the reactions about the movie.
You said the
Because,
reaction?
yeah, like, obviously, on Twitter and everything like that, there are a lot of people, um, who love the movie. Like, at least on my timeline, I'm assuming on yours, there are a lot of people who love the movie. But there are, um, like, one of my managers at work, Friday, yeah, Friday, when we came in, it could have even been Saturday. He was like, one of his friends or relatives or something like that said the movie sucked. A girl that I messaged from POF said she hated the movie because of the ending. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of word of mouth going around on the movie saying that it was bad because of the ending, because people were not expecting the movie to end the way that it did.
Uh, I thought that was the best aspect of it.
Exactly.
Since
Exactly.
because it,
I
cause really,
wholeheartedly agree.
you said what?
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, because it just it left it open to a lot of speculation for me,
Yeah.
which is always good. Like that's one of the big things about like a lot of these superhero movies is they leave like a lot of speculation about where they can take the story next. And I had a lot of speculation, a lot of questions, but it just left me really anticipating, the fallout, like what's going to happen in the next movie.
Yeah.
Because I think next up is Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Yep.
which should be set before Infinity War,
Yeah, I believe so.
and then Captain Marvel's in what, February of
I think
2019.
so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then that'll be the sequel, and I'm really looking forward to Captain Marvel. And that little teaser at the end was a great setup for that. But I thought the ending was the best part because we've never had an ending like that before, where they all just lost.
Yeah.
Like they took the L,
Yeah.
and
You're absolutely right.
and they've been saying like Thanos was the main character of the movie, and he won. Like
Yeah. He was.
it's just he got exactly what he said. He was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna rest. I'm gonna watch the sunrise.
and just really really quickly, I did look up the release date for Captain Marvel. Google says that it's March 6th of next year.
Okay.
But you're absolutely right. I honestly believe I was the only happy person in my theater when that movie ended. Because the same reasons that you're saying are the exact same reasons why the ending is probably one of the things that I love so much about it. Because you're right. We haven't seen a movie, especially in a Marvel movie, where everybody takes this type of loss. And it was different. And for me, the reason why I was happy because they had the balls to do it.
Yeah.
And
they know, like some people aren't gonna really have the happy reaction to that, but it's such a risk because because people just can't. Even if you're a detractor, you didn't like that ending. Can you really just leave it there? Like, can you just say, "Fuck Marvel, I'm not watching the movies anymore," and not see the aftermath of that? Can you do?
exactly, you can't. Like you have to even if you're a detractor, if you hated the movie, you have to be a little intrigued to see what they're going to do.
Right.
Even just a little bit. You have to be wondering, well, how are they going to undo this? And I think for the general audience, I think that's probably what a lot of people are thinking because they might they might be in the camp of, well, they can't leave it like this, right? How are they going to undo this? And I know some
Exactly.
people who are a little bit more privy, like me or you or some of the more, people that watch the comic book film medium and the news and everything like that much more closely. We already know that certain movies are getting sequels, and the funny thing is that a couple of reviews,
Exactly.
yeah, a couple of the reviews I haven't read, but a couple of the review headlines and maybe comments on Twitter that I've read about the movie that didn't like it was because they felt like, hey, because we know what movies are being announced, this doesn't really hold weight. And I'm like, well, you're right and you're wrong, because at the same time,
Yeah.
even though one of my best friends from college, we were talking about it, And I was like, yo, even though Spider-Man Homecoming, the sequel, has been announced and that starts filming in 2 months, I'm like, what if, just what if, I know it's going to be wrong, what if the Homecoming sequel is about Miles Morales and not Peter?
Mm.
That's I know that's not going to be the fact, but just that's a question that has to get thrown out because you're like, look, if they had the balls to basically kill off Black Panther, Spider-Man, these characters, and it's like Black
Yeah,
Panther
most
just
of the
made like
Guardians.
$1.3 billion, and they killed him in this movie.
Yeah, and most of the Guardians went.
Yeah, the only Guardian that's left is Rocket, and it's like, of course, this stuff, and here's where we get into a little bit more speculation, but yeah, some of these reactions are hilarious to me because the movie itself, I only have like a couple of problems with the movie, but it stems from the same thing, and that's time. I really do wish it was longer because
Yeah, same.
because I think I really wanted to see Thanos go to Xandar and destroy Xandar and take the Power Stone.
Right. I want to see that. I want to see him destroy nowhere because he didn't come through with his children. You know, it
Yeah, he
seems
went in
like
there
he went
himself and
by
got it.
himself. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
would have
wanted him
loved
to
to see that.
yeah, I wanted to see the destruction of Nowhere and the Collector's Museum. I also think a little bit more time would have been good for the Black Order, and they were a threat. And I really, really like the Black Order, but
Yeah,
I do, I can see and agree with the people that wanted to see more from them or think that they kind of went out a little bit too quickly. But on one hand, I can kind of see why, you had to kill them off. It's like, hey, you got all these people doing stuff at the same time. Look, it's going to have to come down to Thanos taking on everybody. So if he just loses the Black Order, yeah, they were threats that they went and I can't agree with anybody who didn't think that the Black Order were at least fun to watch or they weren't actual threats. Because one of the best moments to me in the film is, and it's actually, it was, I think in the first screening, it was maybe kind of a jump scare in the beginning when Wanda and Vision are walking in Scotland talking about, hey, leave, stay, this and that. And
yeah,
Vision sees on the TV, Wanda sees on the TV the aftermath of Ebony and Black Dwarf attacking New York, and she's trying to plead with Vision, hey, no, maybe it is right, maybe you do need to stay. And Corvus Glaive comes up and stabs him through the chest,
right.
and it was
Yeah,
like, whoa, where, what? All right, like you knew it was coming. If you watched the trailers, you knew it was coming. I didn't think it was gonna
exactly.
happen like that. And they were a threat, especially. Uh,
Ebony Maw was like the favorite.
yeah, he
So
was. Like I saw a tweet that said Ebony Maw is the MCU equivalent of Paul Heyman, and that might, in history, that might be the most accurate description I've ever seen. And I just love the
um,
fact that how he was so snarky and very
yeah,
confident.
he was a zealot. Like just his reverence
Yeah,
for Thanos
like
and everything he was doing.
yeah,
And
it was, and especially the beginning of the movie, him just walking over the bodies. Like, take pride in the fact that you were killed by a great man such as Thanos. And I'm like, bruh, this dude can lead a million people to their deaths, and I could not get mad. At that point, if
and
you're
just
the way
watching
that
him
you're
fight.
speaking, I might follow you. I just might. He's that charming.
Yeah, because in the comics he's like a great persuade her.
Yeah.
He's very, but I think I don't know if he had like the telekinesis that he had in the movie and the comics, but man, he was a good fighter too. Like just watch him go toe to toe with Doctor Strange like that.
Yeah.
That to the point where they Iron Man and Spidey had to catch him off guard.
Yeah.
He was a big threat.
Yeah. And so I like that the Black Order were threats. I like that they were very much so attacking the heroes. I can agree that maybe, and when it comes to translating the things from the comics to movies, they might tone it down a bit. Because I saw a couple of people say, why should Black Widow and Okoye be able to fight hand in hand with Proxima Midnight when in the comics she has super strength, and I think all of them have some type of form of super strength.
Some kind of durability.
Yeah.
Super strength.
Yeah, and it's like, well, would it really be fun to watch the heroes fight these people that they can't fight? I mean, it would add to the overall effect of, hey, this is a hopeless type of thing. But you already have Thanos, who's gonna basically mop the floor with everybody. Give him a couple of wins on the way to that L.
Right, and it's not like those were easy fights.
Yeah,
like
they weren't at all.
They all struggled. Like they just kind of had like these lucky breaks. Like Wanda, throwing her into that salt machine was quite. That was just good timing. If that wasn't there, she probably wouldn't have been able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Corvus, he almost gave Captain America the L.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Banner, he almost got washed.
Yeah. Everybody was, the Black Order were handing out L's, but it was just like, oh, hey, Black Dwarf rips the arm off the Hulkbuster, and Bruce has ingenious enough thinking to be like, oh, I'm going to attach this gauntlet to Black Dwarf's arm and just fly him out of here. Now, whether or not he knew, maybe he did have an idea of, oh yeah, this is going to run him into the dome, and if it doesn't kill him, at least it'll, knock him out or get him out of the way.
Yeah, get him away from me.
Right, I think that was the thing. It was like, okay, I'm going to put this on him and at least blast him away from me. But then it was like, oh, there's a dome above us, and it's just grinding him up against it, and he explodes. And it's like, oh, damn, all right. But I think I would have liked the movie to have been a little bit longer so we can get more moments with them.
Right.
But other than that, man, like the film itself, I just don't understand how people would feel the way that they feel about it. And even with announcing the sequels, like with Black Panther, like Kevin Feige has already come out and said that, hey, the sequel is up to Ryan Coogler. Like, I'm leaving it completely in his hands. It'll get done if he wants to come back and do it. Which is good, because with what Ryan Coogler did with Black Panther, yes, give him the space that he needs or he wants, and you let him come back to it when he feels like he has a good enough sequel to come back to.
Right.
Because, and I tweeted about this, people, when it came to Ant-Man, there were a lot of people that were upset that Edgar Wright left. And while I do wish we would have gotten like a straight up Edgar Wright version of Ant-Man, at the same time, as with so many things just in general today, people don't realize the nuances of certain situations. And with Ant-Man, I remember when Paul Rudd got cast as Scott Lang, there's a Facebook group that I'm in, and there were some people, they're not purists or anything like that, but they're old school readers. They want Hank Pym Ant-Man, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, Scott Lang, what's going on, this and that. And it was like, yo, it's Edgar Wright's fault that we didn't get Ant-Man and the Wasp in the Avengers, because Joss Whedon had a draft of the script where they were in the movie, but he didn't want to step on the toes of Edgar Wright. They, yeah, like they, and even Kevin Feige, I think there might be a quote somewhere, but I think Ant-Man was supposed to be the first MCU movie, or at least one of the first ones. It might have been the first one that was in development. Like Edgar Wright took 10 years making that film, like developing it and things like that. And then, obviously creative differences is the blanket term used for separation between creatives in Hollywood. But rumors were saying that he left because he didn't really want to tie it into the MCU as much as Kevin Feige wanted it to be. And it was like, no, you don't get to do that after waiting 10 years. Like they pushed things back and went in different routes because they didn't want to step on your toes. The least you can do is have it tie into the bigger universe. And even in the end product, it wasn't really that big of a tie-in. It was them going to steal something from Avengers facility because they thought it was an old Stark building, and him running into and fighting Falcon, and that was it.
And then just Hydra,
right?
Like a little Hydra and Shield.
Yeah, and it was like, if that was the reason that you left, like what? I don't, whatever. But anyway, moving on. The sequels don't necessarily mean that we know these characters are safe, because while I do believe, now this goes into speculation, I do believe that most of the people that were evaporated in the finger snap annihilation, as I like to call it, as I called it in my review, I do believe most of those people, if not all of them, are going to come back. I think everybody that died by other means before the finger snap are not coming back.
Because I know, like Heimdall, like I think he's dead permanently.
Loki.
The Collector, they didn't show his death on screen. It's just kind of implied.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Loki, I don't know.
I think that Loki is permanently dead just because it's already been too many like fake outs already, and the fact that Thor himself pointed it out, and even Thanos pointed it out. And it was like Thor, later on in the movie, Thor is talking to Rocket, and it's like, he's been dead a couple of times before, but this time it feels final. And even after Thanos killed him, he was like, no resurrections this time. And it's like, and honestly, just like with Gamora, I think Loki's death brings some weight to that situation and the character himself. Like, that's the end of his redemption arc.
I see.
And it was like, hey, yeah, I'm going to try and get the jump on him. I don't know why he ever thought that would work, but it was good effort. Yeah, I'm going to try to get the jump on him. This needs to end now. All to save his brother and whatever people that he has left. I think that's a fitting end to his redemption arc, and something that might get talked about in a debate podcast or sometime later. Joss Whedon really didn't do, like, Avengers is the movie that people love Loki for, but the funny thing about Avengers is that Loki's characterization in that movie is not what his character was coming out of the first Thor movie. And I watched the YouTube video talking about that, but that's a discussion for another day. Yeah, I think Loki's death is permanent, and I think Gamora's death is permanent as well, especially because of the impact that it had. with
Yeah,
Thanos.
just on a lot of characters.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, we
Yeah,
don't get the
Star Lord.
massive fuck up that is Star Lord for ruining the plan if Gamora
Uh,
isn't dead. So if you undo that, it's like, well, shit, you could have found some type of way to bring her back before then, or something
yeah,
like that. But no, I think those two are staying dead because of what their deaths meant and mean for everything. And you know, with the Guardians coming back, Nebula can easily take her place on that team.
I see.
Um,
And then like I'm interested in seeing what Volume 3 is gonna look like.
yeah,
Like just what that lineup is gonna be. But you know, um,
there,
they. I'm trying to think. So it was Gamora, Heimdall, like all those Asgardians.
yeah,
Which that just sucks because it didn't make a lot of sense to me was just where was Valkyrie? It's, she was on the ship with them
yeah.
too.
I think the easiest explanation for that is um, because that was a question that I saw afterwards as well. Where was Valkyrie? Where was Korg? Where was Meek? Um, when Thor is with the Guardians, and they're basically talking about families and everything like that, and Drax is like, "Well, Gamora is Thanos' daughter," and he's like, "Your father killed my brother," and they get to talking. At some point, that Thor says that Thanos wiped out half of his people. So I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
when they started attacking the ship at the end of Ragnarok with Thanos' ship approaching theirs, I think they evacuated as many people as they could. And because of the opening of the movie is somebody sending out a distress signal. And they say
Right.
that most, and apparently, I don't know if this is confirmed or not, apparently that's Kenneth Branagh's voice, which will be
Who?
Kenneth Branagh, who directed the first Thor movie. Apparently, he did that.
Okay.
Apparently, he did that voiceover, which I think would be really cool if it actually turns out to be him. But in it, he says that we're mostly farmers. Like we are not a warship. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that as soon as they started getting attacked, they probably evacuated as many people as they could and sent Valkyrie, Korg, and Meek with those people to protect them.
Okay.
Now I don't know if that ship had any,
Like escape
buggies or
pods and.
yeah, pods or anything like that to escape in. But for right now, that's the explanation that I'm gonna chalk it up to. Hey, most of those people on there were inexperienced fighters. They weren't uh, aggressive people in any nature. So you have a handful of people on the ship who are very experienced in combat. Keep half to protect the ship as stands, and whoever you can get off the ship, send the others to protect them and to watch over them, or at least help them get off the ship. So I'm thinking that's why they weren't in the movie,
Okay.
and that's where they went. But uh, you're even with the collector, I think the same thing. I agree with you. Like we didn't see him die, so we can only presume that Thanos killed him. Especially with the state that he left nowhere in. But until we find out for sure, we'll never concretely know if he's dead or not. Um, yeah, Vision is staying
Okay.
dead.
Oh yeah, yeah. He is disappointing me, but in the movie, like he was getting his ass kicked. But
Yeah, but you
um,
but
I,
you know what?
I
I like the way that they nerfed him because that all I you're not the first person that I've seen or heard say that. I've seen a bunch of people saying that on Twitter. But the funny thing is, when you have a character as powerful as Vision, you have to find a way. This goes back to my video that I did about story breaking powers. Characters who are too powerful that can easily solve the story. Vision is one of those characters, and even in the movies, he can phase through things. He can change his density. He has the Mind Stone that can shoot beams and everything like that. Like, he should be able to handle a whole bunch of things. How do you nerf that? You get a sneak attack on him, and you stab him with some type of blade that stops him. Right, that stops him from being able to phase. And it's like, that's a pretty big wound as well. It's going to take time to heal. And they tried to rip the stone out of his head. So jamming that thing into his forehead and trying to crack it open, yeah, that's going to do some damage. So I can see why he was crippled the entire movie. And that added, and I think attacking Vision early and seeing that and having him that way in the film added to the desperateness and the
whole situation.
Yeah, the direness of the situation, because it's like, yo, we have to protect Vision. Vision should be out there helping us, but they got to jump on him, and this is the last thing that they're coming for. We need to make sure he's safe, because if not, he gets the stones, he's all powerful, and two, we need to at least try to figure out how to get Vision back on the field, because he's that much of a game changer. So I like the fact that they nerfed his ass early. And plus, again, that just adds to the overall threat of the Black Order. They took out one of the Avengers' biggest punchers, one of their heaviest hitters.
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, they took out Vision for most of the movie. Okay, this might go south really, really quickly. Now, what were you about to say? I was just going to keep talking about Vision, but you can go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, also, like, the part where it was funny, the part where, she did that desperate move and blew up the stone, and Thanos is like, huh? And, we're all sitting there, and me and my cousin were sitting there, and he's just like, but Thanos has the time stone.
Dude, the funniest, I tweeted that earlier today. Like, in my showing, in my first viewing, like, after she blew up the stone and blew up Vision, like, you heard a couple of people kind of react as like a relief, and it's like, yes, right. he can't get it. But then my friend, I was like whispering to her. I didn't lean over and whisper to her, but I was like, it's for nothing. He's just gonna do that shit over. And literally, what did he do? He walked up and he activated the time stone and started rewinding it, and then you just heard the audience be like, what? And I'm like, yeah, people, he has the time stone. He can easily undo that.
And that was another thing that was like one of the greatest parts of the movie to me, is just watching him use all the stones together.
Yeah.
Using the space stone to, start that meteor shower.
Oh my God, that's one of the best moments in the movie.
Yes. And then also like just showcasing like how Doctor Strange has gotten really powerful and how it still didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like he created like a black hole or something and shot it at him. He he turned stuff to a bat and just making stuff turn into bubbles and all of that.
Dude.
It was hilarious just watching him use it all, like especially when they all came at him in Wakanda.
Yeah, he was just like flicking them off.
Yeah, he made Banner like phase through him and then sealed him in some rocks.
Yeah, that shit was great.
It was great just seeing him use all of those stones. And I was talking to one of my friends about this. I was wondering, like, what could he have done more with the Soul Stone? We didn't really get to see him use it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess maybe that part where he saw Gamora as a child was some manifestation of that.
Yeah.
But we still didn't really get to see what it could do.
Yeah. And I think we might get to see more of it in Avengers 4.
Yeah.
Because what I'm hoping, the one thing that I would have hoped to see in this film is, and a lot of people speculated that this might have happened, was I think one thing he could have done with the Soul Stone was he could have brought back dead characters to fight the heroes.
Right.
Before the yeah, because that would have added more to the heartbreak of the entire movie. Like, you have, well, Stark was on Titan, but out of the heroes that he was fighting on Earth, you can bring back Quicksilver to have him fight Wanda. She's gonna fucking flip the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring back like characters, like villains of these movies to fight these other characters. And it would have been cool, or at least like fuck with their heads,
right,
and bring back like people that who are dead, to just not even fight them, to just like approach them and confront them. That would have been a really, really haunting image to see as well. But I mean, he can also do that with the Reality Stone too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think we're gonna see more of the Soul Stone's work in Avengers 4, more likely. But yeah, I'm
glad it's just like a year.
Yeah.
Just right after. That's perfect.
Yeah. Because now, like, the wait is on again, but it's like, yo, we waited for Infinity War, now it's here. Now let's enjoy this shit while it's here, and then we can get to the wait for the second one.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think one of the most, and I talked about this in my review, which might actually be done uploading now, but one of the most heartbreaking things in the film to me was, there were three. I think in the review, I said 4. I counted 4 after saying 3, but Bucky's death wasn't like a major impact, but it was still impactful because of the reaction. But the main three were Gamora, Vision, and Scarlet Witch, and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider, like, even through my whole, and I've been rooting for Thanos for the past 3, 4, 5 months. In my first viewing, when Peter grabs, like, the I don't feel so good didn't even get to me. It was when he started realizing what was happening after seeing everybody else evaporate, and he desperately grabs at Tony and like basically pleads with him, hey, I don't want to go. That nearly broke me in the theater.
That was pretty tough.
And one of my homegirl who I was talking to it about, I think Friday, she went with like a group of like 15 people, and she said she heard her friend at the end of the aisle yell out, "He's just a boy," and I'm like, bruh. I almost flipped my fucking computer over when I saw that, cause it's like,
it was tough.
And then, like, I think Comic Book Resources had an article yesterday that I read. Part of it because Terrence, he ended up tweeting me because he was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, Spider-Man's power has never been on that big of a scale. Because I didn't read the entire article. But I didn't.
Talking about the Spidey sense.
Yeah. And it was like, basically the article was saying that him being like, I don't feel so good, is his spider sense kicking in giving him a warning that he's about to fucking die. And I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, dude, literally at that moment, I literally almost went into my fucking shower and just started crying. Like, and then later on in the article, they were saying that, you know, he, like, his spider sense gave him a hint to, like, half the universe dying. And I'm like, that's a bit of a stretch.
I don't think so.
I was like, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't give no fuck about them saying that because they're wrong. I care about the fact that, oh, his spider sense told him something was happening and something was going on with him.
Right.
That's the heartbreaking part. I think the second most, the reason why Bucky's death kind of took me aback was because of Steve's reaction to it. He calls out Steve's name, collapses into dust, and then Steve slowly walks over there like super confused, looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. And then him touching the ground where Bucky's ashes are was like, oh shit. Like now Steve has finally lost everybody from his past.
Right, because he's already, you know, thought he was dead. He already thought he was dead, you know, before.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he had to separate from him again. You know, this time he got him back. And, you know, there he goes. And then, you know, I guess, like, a bunch of people just trying to figure out, like, what is happening. Does this mean what I think it means?
Exactly.
Like, did they just go somewhere, or are they for real dead? Like,
right.
What's going on?
Yeah. And at one point, I thought
War Machine, he's like, yo, what's happening?
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah, like even the look on his face, he's just like, what? And it was like when Steve, because Bucky was the first to go in the finger snap, and for a minute I was thinking that it was because Thanos snapped his fingers and then got out of there after he did so. And it was, hey, is he doing something with the Reality Stone again? Like, what's going on? That was my first thinking when Steve, like, touched the ground. But then it started happening to other people, and I was like, holy shit, they really did it. They're killing these people. Oh, fuck. All right. Yeah, keep it going. Keep it going. And that's why Bucky's was so heartbreaking. Gamora's was heartbreaking for a different reason. It was the fact that she didn't. Even in the theater, I was like, why are you talking shit about this? Like he's crying because he has to kill you. And I think that's the fucked up part about it is that, you know, obviously Gamora hated having half of her people killed and being kidnapped and raised by Thanos. But Thanos really does love her like his own child. And the fact that he like him breaking down and realizing that he has to kill her to get the Soul Stone, and he straight up tells her, I missed out on my destiny once, I'm not doing it again. And he still went through with it. That is a man that you do not fuck with. Right.
Because he was determined. You know, he had the conviction from the start. He told Gamora that time in the throne room, he's like, look, you know, it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has to do it. You know, he saw the same thing Doctor Strange, like, I'll do this. Like, I'll go through with this. I have to do it.
Man. And I think he was either talking to Gamora or Strange, where they were questioning him. I think it might have been Strange. But, you know, obviously they were like, you know, and this is your way of doing it. And he was like, look, somebody has to do it. I'm the only one with enough willpower to get it done. And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, all right, then. I absolutely believe you. Like, and the funny thing about it is that he has a point. He absolutely has a point. People people complain and people talk about like us using up Earth's resources on this planet now. And so Thanos wants now my problems with it, while he does have a point, going about it in that way, what does it mean if the population gets back to those numbers?
Right.
But then again, I think killing off randomly half the universe, that means some old people are going to go, some young people are going to go, people in between. So I can see that being of, hey, well, when new kids are born, the older people, the elderly will probably already be gone at some point, and it kind of evens everything out. So even then, it's just like he has a point. Like, do I agree with him murdering half the universe? No, but he has a point. You can't say that he doesn't have a point.
Yeah, it's like when people bring up that issue, I mean, some people go about the way of like, let's try to, hold back from doing certain things, or let's, find a way to make this this dwindling resource, find some alternatives or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, at the end of the day, like, half of us just gotta go.
Right.
and as cold as that is, it's probably the most straightforward and less like time consuming method for it. So he's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it.
Right.
And that's all. That takes, as messed up as it takes a lot of conviction to say I'm going to commit like a universal genocide.
Yeah, in order to save the planet.
Do it.
In order to save the universe.
Right.
And one argument that I was seeing people say is that why couldn't he just I don't know if it was a joke or not, but somebody was like, this could have been avoided had he just watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And like, why can't he just like create more food and everything like that? But then I'm like, that
does make me wonder. He has, six stones that pretty much dominate all aspects of life. He could just make stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, but even then, even thinking about that, you have to consider, well, that's really more so a Band-Aid, because if you're doing that, then other aspects, keep getting used and, cause other problems. And even his statement, of like the universe is finite. Like, who's to say that the Infinity Stones aren't going to run out of power?
This is true.
Like, and even after the finger snap, the damage that has been done to the gauntlet itself, that made me wonder. Like, obviously,
yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
that was gonna be the next thing. Like,
yeah,
that I'm really anxious to see why that happened.
I think he used that much power, wiping out half of all existence, and it just shorted out the gauntlet, because the gauntlet is only housing the stones and gives the wielder the ability to control them better. Because obviously they still work. He used the space stone right after he snapped his fingers to transport himself to wherever he was watching the sunrise or sunset, whatever one it was. But that made me wonder, did they really, use the Infinity Gauntlet as a one-time use thing so they can't undo all of this? Or if it's just, hey, they just need to recharge, he might have to go get a new gauntlet, or he might still be able to use that when the gems just need to recharge or something like that. Like, that just brings up more questions, and then that makes it more interesting, because then it's like, well, shit, what if all of this shit can't be undone? Then what?
I see. And then, well, my my guess about the gauntlet was I thought it might have had something to do with Doctor Strange and the Time Stone.
The dead man's spell.
Right. I think that might have he might have done something with the Time Stone. That caused like the gauntlet to maybe like not work as properly to its full effect.
Yeah. That's an
But
interesting point.
again, what's so good about it is like we just don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know really.
And the added effect is that they killed off who they killed off, and and I'm sure people were not expecting the movie to end this way and to be like that. That's why I think the people who
Right.
hated the way that it ended think that because they didn't want it, they weren't expecting that type of ending. They weren't expecting the heroes to take that big of an L and it be like, oh, the movie's done.
Because when we were watching a movie in the theater, when Thor came through with that final blow,
Yeah.
it was everyone was cheering.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, all these people may have died, and it could have ended like a typical Marvel movie. All these people may have died, we may have had all these losses, but the hero still triumphed.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me when Thanos was just like, "Hey, you should have went for the head,
dude." When he
snapped his finger,
dude, when he said that shit, like the fact that he would, cause you're right. When Thor came through with Stormbreaker, which by the way is entirely too big to be fucking wielding.
Yeah.
That fucking handle is like the size of a fucking vacuum cleaner. But like him throwing it and it cutting through the beams from the Infinity Gauntlet and just embedding in Thanos' chest, I was like, damn, they really gonna end the movie like this. And then, him obviously Thor talking shit like, I told you you were going to die for that. And Thanos trying to get his breath and trying to collect himself and everything like that. And he was letting out like some death, like some death exhaling of breath.
Right.
Like, I'm like, oh shit, all right, they about to end it like this. All right, I mean, it was fun while it lasted. And then he's just like, you should have gone for the head. I was like, what? Wait, what? And then just snapped his fingers. Dude, when he snapped his fingers, I was the only person that yelled in the fucking theater. I literally did my best Ric Flair impersonation. And like people didn't know what the fuck was going on. He bounced. He fucking pieced out that bitch. And then people started fucking disappearing. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, dog, do it. This is gonna be really, really interesting to see what Avengers 4 is. Because now obviously Thanos is hurt.
Captain Marvel's gonna set it up.
Yeah. I think Captain Marvel, since it's based in the 90s, Captain Marvel at some point is going to end in the present day. I think it's going to be similar to Captain America, the first Avenger, where it's a period piece, but then it ends or it has a particular sequence where it's like present day. And then some people are asking, well, why didn't Nick Fury call when the Chitauri invaded, or why didn't he call when Ultron was going running rampant? And then my answer to that is, okay, they might have a point about the Chitauri invasion, but even then, Captain Marvel takes place in the middle of the Kree Skrull War. I don't think she's fucking concerned about what's going on later on down the line, because my reasoning is the fact that Captain Marvel hasn't been seen since the 90s is because she's somewhere in deep space handling intergalactic business.
My cousin Ethan, he was saying I wanted to see he's like, I want to see, Captain Marvel because maybe something happened where she told him, like, look, unless the world is ending, like, some seriously, like, people are just, like, gonna die on this huge, massive scale. Like, where you have, because he gave the situation, like, Nick Fury, he gave the situation kind of like, some kind of code.
Yeah, he said code red.
Some kind of threat level. Some kind of threat level. He was saying, like, she probably said, unless, something like that is happening, don't call me.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I wonder what, just what that plot is, how that plot's going to end, and just all the struggles she's going to have to go through with that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's what I was talking about with my friend, because she brought up the same thing. And I was like, no. I was like, I can kind of see the point with the Chitauri. But even then, it probably goes back to like, hey, whatever she's dealing with, if her movie ends with her being away and in space handling that business, because the movie is either going to end with her in some type of stasis or something like that, or her just dealing with intergalactic stuff. And by the post-credit scene of this movie basically being Nick Fury sending that distress call to Captain Marvel's pager, which is such a fucking 90s thing.
You're right.
Him sending that distress call, I think is going to be like, hey, I'm out here handling, because again, her movie is probably taking place in the middle of the Kree-Skrull War. I'm still thinking Captain Marvel is setting up a secret invasion, or at least because I still think Avengers 4. I know it's probably not going to be the case, because how do you go from Infinity War going into something in a story like Secret Invasion? But I'm thinking that she's like, look, there's some serious shit going on out here. I will be happy to help any and future all endeavors. Do not call me unless I am absolutely needed. Because just think, what if he would have called her for fucking Ultron? Are you shitting me? She would have been mad as hell. You called me out of fucking space dealing with Annihilus for a fucking robot? Are you shitting me? I would have been mad as hell.
That they were pretty much able to take care of. Like,
yeah.
He probably just thought she had it. They had it handled.
Yeah. Like she has.
This was something just, the bad guy won.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm interested to see how Captain Marvel, like the plot of Captain Marvel and how it's going to turn out, because even set photos have come out recently of Samuel L. Jackson on set, and he has like his little wig on or whatever like that, and it's a younger Nick Fury, and he has both eyes. I'm pretty sure either in the Avengers or in the Winter Soldier, he said the last time I trusted a person, I lost an eye. So I think in Captain Marvel, we might see who he trusted and what happened that he lost his eye. So that's going to be really, really interesting to see the plot of Captain Marvel and how it leads into Avengers 4. But there's a whole lot of questions and a whole lot of speculation to go over, because that's how great and that's how great this movie is, and that's how well that it was put together, where you're wondering, hey, what's gonna happen next? Because I think that it's interesting that the original Avengers were the only ones left alive.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna point that out. They kept the original crew.
Yeah,
you still got, well, not the original crew, but like the core-ish members.
Yeah.
I wonder about. We'll probably even see what Hawkeye was getting up to.
Yeah, and in Avengers 4, set photos from that have basically, like, people have been guessing that Hawkeye is going to be Ronin in Avengers 4. He's going to take on that Ronin, or however you pronounce it, because I don't want people to mix it up with Ronin the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy. But people have been speculating that he's gonna be in his Ronin persona or whatever like that, and people were wondering like, hey, what happened to make him go down that road? I think Barton's family died at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah, that could be the case, and um we might even see like, you know, some, because if Ant-Man and the Wasp is taking place before Infinity War, like maybe towards the end of the movie or like a post-credit scene, we'll just see some people evaporate.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see the wider implications of that, because that was another question. It's just like family members of these people are just supporting characters, like did they go as well? So
yeah,
what happened with like Peter's supporting
characters?
Characters. What about Shuri and the rest of some other members of Wakanda? Like I know Okoye and M'Baku, they stayed.
Yeah.
But what about everywhere else?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that Barton's family is out of here, and that's what causes him to take on that Ronin persona, because Hawkeye is completely different, at least from what we've seen from the pictures, because he has like a full like Japanese Yakuza tattoo on his arm. Or some type of tattoos. Like so I'm thinking Avengers 4 takes place several years after Infinity War, because, or at least a couple of years after, because of Hawkeye and the tattoos, as well as, I don't know if it was confirmed or if I don't know if it was just a rumor or something like that, but there was some actress that got cast as an older Cassie Lang in Avengers 4. I don't know how old the actress is. I don't know how old Cassie is supposed to be, but we know from Ant-Man, and I'm assuming Ant-Man and the Wasp, that Scott's daughter has to be 8. How old did she turn in Ant-Man?
Yeah.
She had a birthday in Ant-Man.
It would be 9.
Yeah, she has to be, you know, she's not a teenager yet, but she's not quite in those preteen years either. But it's like, if you're casting an older actress, I'm assuming that Cassie is going to be anywhere from, 12 to 14, maybe, depending on how old the actress is. But I'm thinking in Avengers 4 is probably going to take place sometime after Infinity War. It could very well take place, right after. But at some point, there's going to be a shift in time. Whether or not that's them using the time stone or what have you like that. But this is going to be much different. And you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe it does take place a couple of years after, because the set photos of everybody, them basically recreating the first Avengers movie, where they're using the barf technology from Civil War, Robert Downey Jr. looks really old in those photos. And his hair, at least to me, from what I remember seeing, his hair was like graying out. So I was like, damn, like, does Robert look that old in real life, and they just like he dyes his hair, or they digitally like blacken out his hair or something like that? Or is that a character trait? Like, is Tony Stark old in this movie for a reason? Or does Robert Downey Jr. just look like that? So that's interesting now that I'm thinking about it, because maybe Avengers 4 takes place sometime after Infinity War, and they've just been trying to figure out how to undo all of this shit. And then it's like, well, look, let's use the barf technology. Let's go back, recreate stuff, see what we can do differently, see if there's any clues that we can find or something like that. Who knows how they're going to use it, how they're going to implement that. Me personally, because I still think it's going to be Secret Invasion, I'm thinking that they're using it. They find out somebody's a Skrull at some point in the movie, and they use the barf technology to figure out when the hell did this happen.
I see.
But again, I'm probably wrong on that. And even one of the writers came out and said that they've seen a bunch of online theories about what Avengers 4 is, and nobody has come close. So I'm just going to assume that I'm wrong about Secret Invasion being Avengers 4. But Yeah, that's interesting to think about. Avengers 4 might just take place like a couple of years after Infinity War, man, and just
Yeah,
dealing with the fallout. Um, Now, whether or not it'll be even then, it'll be interesting to see how do they go about undoing all of this
mm,
because again,
yeah,
Doctor Strange knows the one way that the Avengers won, and I'm assuming that
right.
he shared that plan with Tony um, to figure it out because Doctor Strange knew this shit was going to happen. He saw 14 million was it like 14?
Scenarios.
I know it ended in like 605, but I think it was 14 million and not 14,000. I think it was 14 million.
He is 14 million. He saw.
And
He said he only saw one,
like
where
one,
they came out on top.
yeah. So I'm thinking he had to have known from that hey, Tony is going to be one of the people who survive. These are going to be the people who survive. You need to get together with them and figure this out. Because even then, at the end of the movie, he looked dissatisfied as hell that he was dying, but he told Tony this was the only way. So I think they're gonna bring it back to the comics in a sense that one of the reasons that the heroes were able to come out on top in the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, and Adam Warlock approached Thanos about this at the end of the book. Thanos subconsciously does not believe himself to be worthy of wielding that type of power. So he kind of subconsciously allows openings for the heroes to take. So I think it's gonna come down to give him all the stones, let him do this, and then hey, maybe at some point there's gonna be an opening or something like that, and you take it. Maybe that's the route that they're gonna take. Maybe I just don't know what the fuck I'm
And
talking about, which is probably the latter.
then then use it to reverse everything and bring everyone back.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll save Adam for the next Avengers movie or the next Guardian?
I'm not sure because at the end of Volume 2, obviously one of the 7 credit scenes was Aisha teasing that she basically built a new um I forgot the name of that race, the Sovereign or something like that. She built a new member, and she was gonna call him Adam. So obviously that's Adam Warlock. But I think on Twitter somebody asked James Gunn about that, like why was Warlock not being. It was something about why Warlock wasn't going to be in Volume 3 or why he was going to be in Infinity. It was some stupid ass question, and he was like, "I never said that Warlock was going to be the villain of Volume 3." And I'm like, God damn it, James, you can't be doing this shit, dog. um, so I'm not sure where. Obviously, it seems that Warlock is being set up to be a future antagonist against the Guardians. I just do not know if it's going to be Volume 3 or if it's going to be a fourth Guardians movie, whoever takes over after James Gunn is done. I'm honestly just not sure. I would like him to be introduced in an Avengers movie, but with the way that things are set up and with what's happened, we're gonna automatically assume that all the Guardians except for Gamora are gonna come back. Um, I mean, with the way that things ended in Volume 2, it just seems like, hey, he's being used as a Guardians villain. But at the same time, they killed the reason why I knew that Adam Warlock wasn't going to pop up in Infinity War was, people were wondering and people were speculating, and I'm like, no, because Vision is the Warlock XP.
I see.
Vision
Yeah.
is the super powerful being with the Infinity Stone in his head. They're not gonna have two of those people.
Right.
Um, So
And it's just a little weird to like set him up in this movie with so much going on.
yeah, so that too. It was I don't would I have liked to seen it? Yeah, but I mean, hell, he could go he could be born and then go rogue or something like that. Um, and then that's how they set him up for being involved in Avengers 4 if that's where he debuts. And if not, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to be fucking chasing after the Guardians because the Sovereign are very petty people who hold grudges.
Right.
So I'm still interested to see what they're going to do with Warlock. Another thing that I think is going to be interesting is going back, talking about the original Avengers lineup being, left behind. So basically, everybody dies except the original Avengers lineup, and we know Hawkeye survives. The F set pictures or anything to go by. We know Ant-Man and at least Wasp survived because of set pictures. But then again, that could be different because all the set pictures could be. I mean, once you see them in context, it could be different. But I think that the reason that they left the original lineup alive was so there could be an even trade-off to bring back the others. If you notice, they killed off the new Avengers. They killed off Black Panther.
Right.
They killed off Spider-Man. They killed off
Falcon.
Scarlet Witch, Falcon, all this.
Vision.
I think
only War Machine remained.
Right, War Machine was the only one, and I think that in Avengers 4, they're probably going to realize, hey, we've done everything that we can to save the world. It's now time to give them that opportunity to do that. Like if we need to give up our lives to bring back theirs, let's do it. And I think it's probably going to come down to that type of sacrifice where, hey, we need to end this and give them the opportunity to lead the team and continue on the legacy. I think that's what it's going to come down to, and that's going to be really, really heartbreaking as well.
Yeah, a lot of them have come to the end.
Yeah.
We have Chris Evans leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Chris Hemsworth.
I think Chris Hemsworth's contract is up because they were talking about that after Ragnarok. But I think he's especially after Ragnarok, I think he's open to another Thor sequel, and I would like to see another Thor sequel. I just don't know. Obviously, we don't know how Avengers 4 is going to end, but it just depends on what's going on there. Because I would like to see another Thor sequel, especially with the way that Ragnarok turned out.
Right.
But if it, I also wanted another fucking Hulk movie, but we see how that worked. It just depends on, how, what's better for the story. I never wanted to see a Black Widow movie until after fucking, I think it was Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Because they built up her backstory and everything. Yeah, they built up everything around her so much where it was like, you know what? No, I want to see what the hell she was getting into before she got recruited to the team. Like, I want to see that Red Room training and all that shit and all that indoctrination that she went through, and her doing assassinations and her running into Winter Soldier and Hawkeye and things like that, and then getting recruited. Like, I want to know about that stuff now. Because they made such a big deal about her, and even now they make such a big deal about her trying to do better.
Exactly.
So I'm interested in the Black Widow movie now. So I mean, I think it depends on what they do with the story, in my opinion, and how it's executed. and what openings that they leave for me to be like, oh yeah, I want this and I want that, and I think, you know, this is gonna happen or that is gonna happen. Can't really speculate too much. One, because they pulled this shit in Infinity War, and two, because we just don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
There was one other thing that I wanted to bring up, but I forgot it.
Was it Did it have to do? There was one thing I was wondering for the movie. So you know, the biggest part of the movie for me that kind of like just like gave me a wow moment was when the Red Skull reappeared.
Oh, dude, the guy sitting right next to me and the guy sitting right next to me literally had a holy fuck moment when the Red Skull showed up. We were literally like, holy fuck. And we were the only two, I think we were one of the only few people that reacted that way. I don't think a lot of other
Oh,
people knew what the fuck was going on, but
cause we were like, wow, but you know, some people that didn't watch all the movies, they're like, who is he? Like,
right,
I don't
exactly.
know who he is. But I was wondering, so now that Thanos has the Soul Stone, does that mean he's not bound to that planet anymore?
That's a very good
Um,
question.
you know, is he now like, you know, free to do as he pleases, or what does that mean for what does that mean for him going forward? Like, so is he just going to be stuck there now?
That is a
Like, is there potential for him to show up in other movies maybe in the future?
that is a very good question, actually. Um, yeah, I mean, look, what the same question you had, the same question I had. What does that mean for him going forward now? Um, and I think one of the interesting things about it is that most people assumed that he died at the end of the first Avenger, but
Well,
even
we knew he got teleported away somewhere. Like
yeah,
that wasn't the last we saw of him.
yeah. And I was telling my homegirl that because she was like, you know, I thought I wasn't sure if he died, and I was like, go back and watch the first Avenger, and you will see like when he kind of evaporates and gets like kind of sucked in, the beam that shoots out after he gets sucked in is the same beam that I think is the same effect that they use for like one of the transportation things and with the Bifrost or with Loki's portal from the first Avengers movie or something like that. So it's like, no, he got transported somewhere. He didn't get uh killed. He just got
Right.
transported somewhere. And now that we know that it's a space stone, yeah, a lot of the like with the power stone or whatever like that, we're naturally assuming like, hey, if you do not have the will or whatever to hold a stone, it'll destroy you. But that could just be for the power stone. Um, so I'm thinking, hey, he held the space stone in his hand, and at that moment, it teleported him somewhere. So that's what I'm obviously that's what happened. So I'm interested to see what they're gonna do with him now, especially because they recast him too.
Right. So because this guy would probably be more open to reappear in the movies because Hugo Weaving, he was like reluctant.
Yeah, and I
Like
think in even more recent comments, like I think Weaving, I think he just didn't like the makeup or whatever like that. Because I think there was a more recent comment that said like, you know, hey, you know, maybe I'd come back or something like that. It was his stance had softened on not coming back to the role. But I guess, you know, whatever happened, they recast the guy from I think he's on The Walking Dead or something like that. They said, but he's an impersonator,
yeah.
so he basically just impersonated Hugo Weaving's German accent. Um,
Yeah, because I was fooled for a second. I thought that was legit Hugo Weaving. I mean, they didn't sound that different.
yeah,
But then I looked it up afterwards. They're like, no, it's a completely different actor.
yeah. When before I left to go to the bathroom when the credits started rolling. I was like, nah, I gotta at least wait and see who the fuck played Red Skull. And I did, and I didn't recognize the name, and I was like, well, that's not Hugo Weaving, so all right.
Yeah.
But then when I looked it up, like there's a video of the guy doing impersonations of people. And so I was more at that moment during the movie after he appeared, I was more upset that I didn't recognize the accent sooner when he was talking to them. Because I was like, yo, even in my second viewing, I was like, yeah, you can tell pretty early on that that's like a German sounding accent. But when Gamora and Thanos are approaching him, and then, you know, he's talking more, and then he reveals himself, and it's like, oh shit. Like, I was mad at myself because I was like, I should have picked up on that accent earlier. Like, I should have seen that coming, but I didn't. Fuck, what? There was something. There's a lot of layers to this movie.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't think people are talking about enough is Josh Brolin's performance as Thanos.
Because I've never seen him in anything before this.
Yeah.
Well, before like the MCU.
Yeah.
But he did a very good job. He was kind of imposing, you know, like a villain is supposed to be. You know, he shows up somewhere. It's you know, when he appears somewhere in front of the heroes in the movie, there's like that dread there, that fear.
Yeah.
He did a really good job with that. And but even then, like, you know, it didn't separate you from understanding his motivation.
Yeah.
His emotions, or just, you know, trying to empathize with that. So he did a good job. I'm actually, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing him in other movies. You know, of course, he's going to be in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Just seeing how he works with that.
Yeah. I think, like me, I've seen him in other stuff, and I know that he's a very capable actor. And it was so interesting to see Thanos on screen. That's why I love this character. Like, we've talked about it. Like, Killmonger was my favorite MCU villain and is the best MCU villain to me, but I knew that was only going to last until Infinity War came out. Like, I knew that from the beginning. I was like, yo, Killmonger is great. This is only going to last until we see Thanos on screen.
Exactly.
And one thing that I also like, which made sense because they do it for the Hulk, but when they use a character for mocap, you see that actor's face in the character.
Right.
There were a lot of times where Thanos was on screen, and I was like, holy fuck, he looks so much like Josh Brolin. It's crazy. And just seeing that emotion and even it's mocap, it's CGI, whatever, but still his performance was something else. And you know, his voice wasn't always crazy or like really, really scary, like rah, 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 like that all the time. Because that was one of the things that surprised me at first when the movie opened. After Ebony Maw got done introducing and talking to all the fallen Asgardians that were still alive, Thanos started talking, and I was like, I thought they would have added a little bit more effects to his voice or whatever like that. But no, it worked because it allowed Brolin to use his voice to get those emotions across. Like, even the changing of the trailer dialogue is not in time. You will know what it's like to lose. He starts out saying, I know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail nonetheless. And like, just hearing him matter-of-factly talk to Thor and Loki like that, really more so Loki, just hearing his voice and it not really having that much, like that many effects on it, it was like, damn, you really understand. It allowed you to really get really empathize and really understand and connect with those emotions.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he did a really good job in this role. Like his performance does lead to like some great moments in the film. I think that's why they cast these actors um, that they do, because in the end of the day, you need to have a good actor pulling this off, or else it's not going to work as well as you would like it to.
Right. We're not gonna get the full impact.
Yeah. And man, Josh Brolin fucking killed it. I think he's not getting enough credit for his performance. I remember now. One thing that was interesting that I've seen, like obviously me being me, whenever I go see a movie, I generally, depending on what it is, I go start looking for discussions about it or looking up YouTube videos about it. And I did the same thing with Infinity War. I came across somebody's review or somebody's discussion about it, and they were talking about Hulk and how they basically turned turned it into like a erectile dysfunction joke with Bruce Banner, which is true. They did. It's basically an erectile dysfunction joke. But the funnier thing, and I'll get to this later, they were talking about it like, why didn't the Hulk want to come out? Maybe, and I don't know why they went with this route, but they were like, maybe because from Thor Ragnarok, when Thor and Hulk were going back and forth, he was like, oh, Earth hates the Hulk, this and that. So he didn't want to come out because he was thinking about like, oh, how Earth, hates him and everybody hates him and everything like that. And I'm like, why would you pick that angle? That makes no sense.
I mean, that's something he was, he always thought about maybe like in certain comic portrayals.
Yeah.
But I was looking at it more from the angle of like he was just scared.
Yeah, that's the exact angle that I took, because especially the opening,
he got his ass beaten bad.
He got that was a curb stomp. If I have never seen one, that was a curb stomping, and I went from the angle of, no, he doesn't want to come out because he got his ass thoroughly handed to him and he wants no parts of that. Again, even my homegirl was like, he was the smartest nigga in the movie. Because he was like, because people forget, Hulk has the mind of a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. Hulk is smart, but as far as like personality and actions, he's a kid. So that's how he's acting. So my friend was like, look, Thanos is that scary monster that came in, beat his ass, and he is absolutely terrified. And he's
used to dominating.
Yeah.
When Hulk shows up, he's dominating.
Yeah.
Doing everything.
And I think, it was played for laughs, yeah. But I think even now in my second viewing, because the time I wanted to catch a matinee and I didn't want to go like after 12 or whatever like that, I went to a Spanish subtitle showing at 11. Now, I don't know if that was why the reactions weren't, because it wasn't all Spanish-speaking people in there, obviously. But in my second viewing, the audience was different as far as reactions. And when it came to like the jokes with Bruce, they still laughed. But me, I was like, yo, this nigga is scared. Like it's not even, like the second viewing, it didn't even become funny because it was like, no, once you, that's a great that's a great example of fridge logic with Infinity War. Like, it doesn't hit you until after the movie that, yo, the reason why Hulk didn't want to come out is because he was scared. What has to happen to make Hulk scared to fight something? The beginning of the movie. Because when he, and it was a lot of like air being let out of the room when Thanos was whooping Hulk's ass. Cause he charged him. I love the whole setup for it. Loki was, I think that at that point he tried to attack him or something like that. Or no, he presented the Tesseract and he was talking to him and he was like, yeah, but we have a Hulk. And then Hulk charges him. And I think maybe a couple of people kind of reacted like, yeah, or whatever. And then Black Dwarf gets ready to step up and Ebony is like, no, let him have his fun. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I knew that wasn't going to end well for Bruce. I wasn't expecting it to end like that.
They were both the same size.
Hulk was probably a little bit bigger.
Probably a little bit bigger, but it's like Thanos has, tactical, sound mind.
Yeah.
And, Hulk doesn't. Like, I think they really play that when Hulk fights enemies like Abomination and Red Hulk. Is like, they are more intelligent and more like they're more calm fighters.
Yeah.
So they're not just kind of raging and like fighting wild like the Hulk kind of does. And so, Thanos is just like, yeah, you big, but
right. And like that bird, like Hulk charges him.
Any stones.
Huh?
He didn't use that power stone.
He didn't. That was the fucked up thing about it. I was like, yo, Hulk charges him, throws him into the wall a couple of times. Thanos fucking pulls his hands off of him and like punches him in the shoulder or in the collarbone or something like that.
Yeah, it was like the collarbone.
And you hear that thud and Hulk starts like favoring that side and then he just goes off. He's like boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on?
Dodging all the hits.
Dog, I was like, bruh, I was not expecting this type of fucking fight choreography between the Hulk and Thanos. I thought I was watching the fucking, man, like this is a one side. This was the, you would not expect to say a fight, including the Hulk, is one-sided, not in Hulk's favor.
Right.
Because
people that could do that.
Thanos literally gave him a fucking 4-piece extra crispy, and fucking like, and then ended it with a fucking Goldberg gorilla press. Bruh, I was flabbergasted, and I was rooting for Thanos, and I was still flabbergasted. I was like, yo, you ain't have to do him like that now. This man literally. Oh my god.
What are you gonna say?
No, I was like, this man literally gorilla pressed Hulk and then just dropped him.
Yeah, and then Heimdall was like, oh man, I gotta get him out of here.
Right. Like, you know what? Yeah. Let's just go ahead and we gotta at least get one person out of here. Bruh.
I just hope for this movie, like, because one of the things I was also thinking about, because I'm a fan of the DC universe, and I really want them to do well. And I just hope, like, this movie kind of inspires them to just kind of get their shit together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Aquaman is going to be pretty good. Like, the director, he seems like he's just really trying to make sure he's not half-assing anything.
Yeah.
And I think after Aquaman, then it's Shazam.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope this movie kind of inspires them to just do better.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Just build a more cohesive universe. Like, I think they can do it. It's just, I feel like there's just like a clash between the people creating the stuff in the studios.
Yeah.
and it's just not working too well.
Yeah, it's not at all, and I don't want it to devolve into a like a DC needs to get their shit together, or how does Infinity War do this and DC couldn't do that. But at one side that conversation isn't needed, but at the same time it's like, no, it's a fact though. Like, there's a reason that most of their movies are split down the middle regarding like critics and fans, but more so on the side of people not liking it. Is because they don't have it doesn't seem like they have a real direction with what they're doing. And that's definitely going to be a topic for one of the debate podcasts that I want to do, talking about those movies. But yeah, I agree.
I like them. I like them. It's just they could have been way better.
Yeah, absolutely, and they should have been way better. Yeah. So with I think one of the other, since we were talking about fighting scenes, I think one of the other things that really surprised me was the fight choreography with the Scotland sequence when
Proxima, between like Cat, Falcon, and Widow.
Yeah, I really liked that choreography when they were because it seemed like, because with a lot of CGI characters or with CGI objects that are being used in a fight, it doesn't seem like the weight of the item is there. But with that fight and the Wakanda fight between Proxima, Widow, and Okoye, it seemed like her stab had real weight to it, or at least the mocap actor or actress, whoever it was, really knew what they were doing, because I never got the sense of, that stab, like it's something going on with the effects where that stab doesn't look like it's there, or it doesn't look like it has the weight that it should. Like, no, whoever was mocapping Proxima Midnight definitely looked like they knew what they were doing.
I think her name was Carrie Coon. What's her name? The actress?
I know there was an actress that voiced Proxima Midnight. I don't know if the same actress was the person that did the mocap for it.
I see.
Yeah. Because they all brought in people to do the voices for the characters, but I don't know if those same actors did, probably stunt people did the mocap for them. But yeah, whoever they got to do the mocap for Proxima Midnight, they did an excellent job in those fight scenes. And I actually like Proxima too, because she was, while she didn't have as many lines as Ebony, I think she was like I don't know, it's something about Proxima that I like. Like, she seemed like a very big like threat going after people. Like, Corvus stabbed Vision, Ebony kidnapped Strange and was torturing him and shit. Well, Proxima, she was like, when she got in there,
it seems like besides Ebony, she was like leading a lot of the assault.
Yeah.
Like the assault on Wakanda, like she was the one masterminding that.
Yeah.
It seemed like she had like more of the commanding voice in that assault on the Vision.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying about Ebony Maw's telekinesis earlier, it probably wasn't as strong as it is in the comics, but he definitely had it, because I think
he used a device. He uses a device in the comics to do those kind of powers, but that wasn't his main strong suit. His main strong suit in the comics is like he's just really smart, and really good at persuading people to do things.
Yeah.
And there's aspects of that in the movie, but they really played up his telekinesis.
Yeah. But I can't wait to go see this shit again, man. Ideally, I saw the first Guardians movie 6 times in theaters. I'm hoping to get to 7 with Infinity War. Like when I was talking to my homegirl, I said 13, and she was like, "Nah, at 7 we need an intervention because you can't keep doing this to yourself." And
Yeah.
I think I overshot it with 13 because 13 is a lot. Um,
Yeah. Yes, it is.
but I think 7 is that number. I definitely want to keep watching this and keep getting swept up in like the spectacle of everything. Um, yeah. So, you got any other
I'm
thought?
looking forward to. No, I mean, just if you haven't seen the movie, definitely go see it. I would say please don't be one of those people that's only seen like 2 movies and then complain about lack of backstory and
Oh my
understanding
god.
of the story because you look stupid.
Yeah.
So definitely, I would recommend if you forgot some things, just look back at a couple of the movies, but it's a good film, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't see the movie and you listened to this whole recording, then you're gonna be kind of mad.
Oh, you gonna be mad as
but,
fuck.
but yeah.
I'm definitely gonna put. It's too late for a spoiler warning now, but I'm definitely going to put a. I'll probably do a side recording and put it at the beginning and saying, "Hey, if you haven't seen the movie, this is a really big spoiler warning for this entire recording. So you probably want to listen to this after you've seen the movie. But if you just don't care, hey, go ahead." So I'll probably do something like that. But I agree with your sentiments. The movie is great. Go see it. Don't be one of those people that uh, you don't even have to watch all of the movies. That's the funny thing. There are
Right.
literally only like 5 movies that you need to watch just to get caught up on Infinity War. That like don't watch like 2 maybe 3 movies, guys, just to get. I was really shocked when I was seeing those review headlines pop up, and it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny how you say that there should have been set up for these characters like there haven't been 10 years of movies being made.
my my personal favorite was um, why did Wakanda have such a small role in the movie? They're just marginalizing
Oh my
the
god.
the, the most successful black. Look, he's the black hero. They're just marginalizing him, and they killed him in the movie. Blah blah. They released it 2 months after Black Panther because they wanted to steal his shine.
Oh my god. I remember seeing that too, and I was like, you know what? I just want to exit out of life right now. Like y'all, look, I want to have a discussion. I need to talk. This is a attention to people that thought Infinity War wasn't gonna do better numbers than Black Panther, and
Oh
to all the
man.
pro Wakandans that thought Thanos was gonna get his ass whooped when he stepped on Wakandan soil. Let's talk because after this movie, I need y'all to go apologize. Honestly.
Cause man, like it beat Black Panther in pre-sale tickets. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
knew. And then on Thursday alone, like it made what 39 million just
Yeah.
on that Thursday.
Yeah. Just on Thursday night showings. Like it I oh, that's another discussion that can lead to another 2-hour conversation. I don't want to get too into it, but I just never understood people's stances on that because it's like, yo, people. The funny thing about the whole Black Panther thing, is that there are people complaining about not having seen, not being, aware or being given information in the movie on these characters. That's how big this movie was. Like, there are plenty of people going to see this movie having not seen any previous Marvel movie. That should have given you. I mean, that's after the fact, but it's like, yo, there are people. They didn't realize how long people have been waiting for Infinity War.
Exactly.
It's like, yo, Black Panther was great. Like, I love it, honestly, truly. But to
Yeah, it
say
was
that
a
it
great
wasn't gonna
movie.
do, to say that Infinity War wasn't gonna do better numbers than Black Panther, come on now, stop. Like, look, you're drinking the Kool Aid a little too much. Like, I expect the last report that I saw, that which was this morning, Infinity War made like 650 million worldwide this weekend. I'm expecting Infinity War to hit $1 billion in like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Easily.
Worldwide, easy.
Easy. Even with all the people who hated the way that the movie ended, I honestly expect Infinity War to get as close to $2 billion as humanly possible by the end of its run. I honestly think Infinity War is gonna be one of those $2 billion movies. Easy. Because you don't have this type of setup
Right.
and this type of this type of hype leading into the film, and it to be executed so well, like as well as they did, not to make like 2 billion. Like it made it had the highest opening of all time. It beat the last. It beat the Force Awakens. It made like 250. No. They were estimating it at like 250. I think it ended up making like
260.
yeah, like 260 or something like that. My numbers could be off. But anyway, it's the highest opening of all time. It's the highest worldwide opening ever. It's literally already past half $1 billion. Like I do not understand why people ever thought that it wasn't going to do better numbers than Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
I expect people to be going, and the one argument that I saw was that it had competition that's going to slow it down. It has Deadpool, the Han Solo movie, and Incredibles, and I was
Nah,
like,
Incredibles maybe.
and you know what? I think Incredible, and I mean Incredibles comes out in June, so of course
Right.
that's gonna cut into it. Deadpool comes out the 18th. I can't remember when the Han Solo movie comes out. I don't know how many people are actually excited for the Han Solo movie.
Not
Um,
me. I mean, it's they're just milking it at this point. Like I never cared about Han Solo that much. I mean, he's a great character, but I just don't care about an origin story for him.
yeah.
But
Um,
it's just they gonna come up with all these different in between movies and
yeah.
prequels and
I mean, I get
whatnot.
it. Do the spin-off movies. Yeah, I understand. To kind of bridge the gap in between some of the movies. I was never a big Star Wars person, so I just don't care all the way around. I'll go
Right.
see a movie if it look good, but it's like, do I want to go see a Han Solo movie? No.
'Cause I'm
Um,
still on the fence about the Force Awakens. I mean, not the Force Awakens, the Last Jedi. I was like, do I want to see it? I don't know.
I saw it. The Last Jedi was kind of boring to me.
Let's see.
It was like my brother described it perfectly as being a very long car chase movie, and that's really what it was. Like it was just like a really long like chase. And I saw the Last Jedi, and then I saw Jumanji. Um, Maybe right after one another because Jumanji had just come out. Um, and I think I maybe saw Last Jedi one weekend. I waited a couple of weeks after it came out to see it because I was like, nah, I'm not dealing with all this bullshit of like not being able to get a seat because I like going on Sunday mornings. I like going in the morning, um, but I like going to the theater and getting the tickets and not like pre-ordering them or whatever like that, pre-purchasing them. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna wait on the Last Jedi. Jumanji, I think I pre-purchased the tickets, but the day that I went, like I was checking the time, and I was like, let me go just buy them now because it's only, it's still some open seats or whatever like that. I had more fun in the theater watching Jumanji than the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Um, Surprisingly so. You shouldn't be able to say that about a Star Wars movie. Um, but like Deadpool is the only one that I think might slow it down a bit because at the time Deadpool was tracking to open up smaller than the first movie. It was tracking to have a smaller opening than the first movie, but that was very early on. That was super early, like tracking numbers or whatever like that. This was like maybe a month ago. But I think more recently it's tracking to open up at like 150 or something like that, which isn't that's great. That's a massive opening for a movie. For a comic book movie that's probably, I don't know what they bumped up the budget to, but I know it's way bigger than like the 30 or 40 million they had on the first movie. I don't know if it's crossing the $100 million budget, but I think Deadpool 2's budget probably is like 60 or 70 million maybe.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. The trailers, I wish they hadn't shown so much in that latest trailer, but it got me more excited for the movie. That's the funny thing. But I think Deadpool is going to slow it down a bit, but not so much as to me worrying about it not doing better than Black Panther. Like it's already half of the way. I think it's exactly half of the way there because I think Black Panther made like 1.3 or 1.4 billion or something like that. Infinity War opened to like 650 million worldwide. Like I'm gonna guess that it can make over the next. Let's say they take Infinity War out of theaters in like late June, July, something like that. Let's say it because I don't know the run of movies because some of them get taken out of theaters way early when they just do terrible, and sometimes you fucking look up and a movie that came out in fucking December is still playing in theaters in fucking like May or some shit. So I'm not sure on that front, but by the end of its run, I'm gonna take an educated guess that Infinity War can make another $650 million. I'm just gonna take that wild guess. But yeah, the movie is great. It's gonna make gangbusters. I hope it makes $2 billion because I really don't think I haven't seen Avatar, but I heard it's basically Pocahontas with fucking blue people.
That's incredibly accurate.
I've always heard Pocahontas or Dancing with Wolves or Dances with Wolves, which I guess are the same stories in and of themselves. But yeah, they basically say Avatar is nothing. There's nothing special about Avatar besides the visuals. But I really want a movie to be Avatar, and it would be so great if it was fucking Infinity War. But people also have to realize Avatar got re-released as well, so that's how it made that extra money.
Yeah, I think it'll do. It could like break a couple records.
Yeah. But yeah, the movie is great, guys. I cannot say that enough. I can't wait to go see it again. Stay posted. Hopefully, I'll have, like I said at the beginning, I'll have more podcasts coming. I think the next podcast that I want to do is going to be the first actual debate podcast is going to be on Venom and Spider-Man 3 because we got that first official Venom trailer like a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week or something like that. I think I have an interesting take on Venom and Spider-Man 3 that I want to, have a good discourse, have a good debate with somebody about. So hopefully that'll be the next one if I can find somebody that takes the side. I mean, it shouldn't be hard to find somebody that hates Spider-Man 3 and Venom. But yeah, people, especially because I'm such a big Venom fan, I think people will be interested with my particular take on that movie. yeah, hopefully that'll be the next one. If not, I can always find another movie to talk about. But yeah, guys, this is Courtney, one half of the Birds of Deconstruction with my homeboy Myron. We're signing off.
And thanks for having me, man.
No problem.